Nebraska winter conditioning is in full swing and the Huskers just began mat drills. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you some big nuggets that I've learned over the past couple of days, some brand new breakout players on both offense and defense, how the transfers are acclimating to Lincoln, who's playing up to snuff, who isn't, how the new coaches are doing, and so much more. So really quick, loaded nuggets episode. It's been a minute. Hit that like button if you're fired up, and also if you're a diehard Nebraska fan and you're unsubscribed, what are you waiting for? It takes 2 seconds. Please hit that subscribe button. It helps me out more than you would know. I post daily Husker football content, exclusive Nebraska nuggets just like this. So please join this family. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for all of you. But without further ado, let's get into it. Talking about Nebraska in winter conditioning. The Huskers have been in full swing for about a month now, but they just began mat drills. So right now, Nebraska, they aren't practicing, they aren't catching the football, they aren't scrimmaging at all. Right now, they're just focused on lifting weights. They're doing conditioning. They're getting their speed right. They're getting their weight right. They're eating the right foods. They're building their leadership. And right now, there's a lot of storylines going on that nobody's talking about. Some breakout players that we've learned, some guys who are developing as leaders. So I want to get things started with this Nuggets episode, talking about some brand new breakout players, guys who are making a name for themselves, who might be in the mix to start next year or be in that too deep, that weren't even playing last year. So I want to get things started with the guy who really needs to prove himself. I mean, we've been hearing some good things about him so far throughout winter conditioning, and this is Dylan Rogers, third-year linebacker, of course, coming out of Cypress, Texas. You know, really good recruit coming out of high school. Was a high 3-star guy. He had good weight on him, good size, was a solid tackler, and he's just never gotten the field in Nebraska so far. Just really never started, never got in that depth chart. I think he was in that too deep for the bowl game. But, you know, besides that, Dylan Rogers, this is a prove-it year for him. And we've been hearing some good things about him. You know, from a weight standpoint, I know this is 240. I think he's up to about 250 right now. He looks the part. Nebraska posted this on Twitter the other day. This is Dylan Rogers behind Mario Buford. Look at that size. Again, he looks big, man. He looks really big. So from a weight standpoint, I think he's finally there to get on the field, but it's all about him, again, continue to master the playbook. I think, you know, Dylan Rogers isn't the guy who really impresses you from a speed standpoint, from an athleticism standpoint, but he doesn't need you, right? If he's a solid tackler, if he's a guy who's a very smart linebacker, I think he's going to get on the field, but, you know, from all intents and purposes, he's developed himself as a leader throughout these last couple months in a linebacker room that loses a bunch of older guys like a John Bullock. So I think Dylan Rogers, man, been hearing some good stuff about him so far. From a weight standpoint, I think he's going to get on the field. He's absolutely going to get that too deep, but might be in the mix to start at middle linebacker. So watch out for Mr. Dylan Rogers. But again, just look at this photo, man. He looks big. He looks big, and that's good to see at that linebacker spot. So going on to the second guy, man, Jamarion Parker. We talked about Jamarion Parker in the last Nuggets episode about winter conditioning. He has been really performing well. Again, he went to Lincoln a couple months ago. Of course, he was an early enrollee, and he looks the part. Right. He does not look like a true freshman running back. He's 5'11". At this point, this is incorrect. He's about 190, 195. So he got some good weight on him at this point. He's working hard. He's blazing fast. He's a guy who can also lower the shoulder a little bit. You know, buy Jamarion Parker stock right now because this is a wide open running back room. Nebraska in the past couple years, they are not shy away from, playing these true freshmen, whether that's a Gabe Irvin, that's a AJ Allen. I think Jamarion Parker is going to be the next one who plays right away. So buy stock right now, man. A lot of good things from Jamarion Parker. But just from a physicality standpoint, from an athleticism standpoint, I think he's probably the best in this room. I think he honestly has more athletic upside than even Emmett Johnson. Oh, we've been saying that so far in winter conditioning, but right now it's all about him continue to put on more weight, get his body right. If he can do that, learn the playbook, he's going to be ready to go when it comes to spring ball and comes to fall practice. So watch out for Jamarion Parker. One other guy I want to throw at you real quick, Mario Buford is a guy that we've been hearing a lot of good stuff about. Again, 6 foot tall, 175. I was raving about Mario Buford last year in fall practice. He's a guy who can play corner. He can play nickel. I think he's probably going to play nickel this year for the Huskers, but he can also play safety. He's kind of a utility knife, but again, he's a guy who's also got his body right, been really working hard. You talk to the coaching staff, this is one of the first guys they mentioned in the secondary of, those breakout players. So again, it's going to be an interesting conversation what happens in this DB room over the next couple months. We know there's going to be a lot of competition. Mario Buford, man, he got a leg up over all these guys as of right now. Been really performing well so far, in the conditioning training, but also been putting on some good weight. One other guy I want to mention before we get to the transfers, we have a conversation about that. Riley Van Poppel. Buy some Riley Van Poppel stock. From a weight standpoint, He looks really, really good. I think one of the reasons, and Matt Rhule won't tell you this, one of the reasons they redshirted him last year is because they wanted to get his body right. His body was not right. He came on campus at about 275. And there was a lot of muscle on there. It was a good weight, but he had some fat in there that really they had to get rid of, right? He had to continue to eat right, get his conditioning up there. So he plays a true freshman. He played well. But I think one of the reasons why they didn't play him as much last year is because, one, they wanted to preserve some years left on him, but at the same time, they wanted to get his body right up to 300 pounds. Right now, I think he's about 300. Again, this is incorrect. This is weight from last year, but again, I believe he's at 300. All of that's good weight. You see him in photos. He looks really, really good. He's going to be our starter 3 technique. I know I've got some questions about that. He will be a 3 technique. Nebraska does not want to play him at nose. So Riley Van Poppel, like what I'm hearing from him, but again, he got his body right, man. He got his body right. He's going to start for sure at that 3 technique spot. So those are some guys who we've been hearing some good things about. I want to talk about the transfers, who've been playing well, who's not been playing well, of some of these guys who are joining the team. First thing, I want to get things started with Dane Key, man. Dane Key is somebody who has just been raved about over the past couple months from all these insiders, from these coaches, and somehow he has lived up to all of it. Sean Callahan said the other day in an article that, Dane Key, man, he's conducting himself as a leader. He's conducting himself as the best player on this Nebraska football team, and he's trying to get paid next year, man. Like, he's trying to be a first-round NFL draft pick. I think people just forget how good Dane Key is. Like, we got ourselves a future NFL or a future potential first-round pick. There's some mock drafts I'm looking at that have him pegged in the first round. He's a guy who's a top 5 route runner in the country, has great hands, great size. So Dane Key has established himself already as a leader in that wide receiver room. He's going to be, in the mix to be a single-digit guy. And that's what it's all about right now, being a leader, right, commanding respect. Especially as a transfer, he's done just that. Feel good about Dane Key. The only thing I'm concerned about, can Dylan Raiola build a connection with him? Can Dylan do that? And that's about Dylan developing as a leader, right? Dylan did a good job his true freshman year building connections with Fedoni, with, some of these running backs, right? I don't think Dylan did a great job developing relationships with the Isaiah Naders of the world, the Jamal Banks of the world. And that showed on Saturdays when he didn't have a great connection with them and, he didn't know when they were open, right? When you're not practicing with those boys consistently, you're not doing private workouts, we're not constantly hitting those boys up, you don't have that trust in them that you might have, a younger guy like Ja'Cory Barney. So I need Dylan to kind of break that shell this year and get a good relationship with some of these veteran guys. I think he's doing that. He was at a basketball game with Dane, so hopefully he can do that if they really want to maximize his production. So hearing good things about Dane. Deshaun McCullough, man, I mean, he just might be the best transfer Nebraska got in this process. I'll say this right now. He's the most athletically gifted player on the team, and it's not even particularly close, and that shines right now in winter conditioning. He's getting up there to a good weight. I think he's going to be about 240, 245 by the time we get to the fall. Again, 6'5", but he's just been shining. The Nebraska staff, they're raving about him constantly. Again, he's a Swiss Army knife. We'll see what they do with him. They want to put him at jack. I don't love that. I'd rather have him at middle, whatever. But we will see there. But Sam McCullough, again, he's been balling out. And then one more guy who might be a little bit of surprise, Jalen George. From an athletic standpoint, this is a guy that the coaching staff has really liked over the past couple weeks. He's just been blowing up mat drills, blowing up the weight room. Again, he's getting his body right. He's probably going to get up to about 280 by the time the fall comes around. But he's sneaky athletic, and I know we got him from East Tennessee, or it was Eastern Kentucky, and people were questioning the decision because he didn't really have great stats. But he was a first-team all-conference guy in FCS. He was incredibly athletic. He has that upside. Just trust the coaching staff on this one. And from all intents and purposes, he's been playing really well so far in winter conditioning. I'm excited to see what he can do in spring ball. But, he's super athletic, man. Supernaturally gifted. Sometimes it doesn't translate to the actual football field. Hopefully it does in this case, but again, he's really balling out right now in winter conditioning. And hopefully we can see that translate in a couple months. So those are some players I want to mention. Just talking about the coaching staff a little bit. It looks like all of Nebraska's new coaches are currently in Lincoln. Mike Eckler, of course, that was official about a week or two ago. He's now in Lincoln. Terry Bratton now with the Huskers, building some relationships with some of these younger guys. He's now getting on the recruiting trail. So I'm excited about this new coaching staff. And, right now it's just all about, I think the common theme of this coaching staff is about energy, it's about production. And really, it's about being bought in, man. And that's always been the tempo with Matt Rhule. He wants people to be bought in and trust the process, trust the culture. But I think more now than ever with these new coaches, man, when you have a head coach who facilitates that, that's great. But when you have some of these younger coaches who are all about being bought in, who are all about, getting you to the next level, making you a better player, trusting your day-to-day process. I think that's going to be the best for this team going forward. So again, we made a lot of good coaching moves, man. Getting a guy like Terry Brown on that defensive line, getting a guy like Addison Williams, who I'm very high on. So I really like this new coaching staff for Nebraska. They're doing a good job. But right now, again, they're not really a part of winter conditioning. They're meeting these guys, but right now it's all about Corey Campbell, who's our strength and conditioning coach. He's the guy who kind of runs this right now. So wanted to give you a quick update around that. As for players who aren't playing up to snuff, there's a couple of them, right? I won't really highlight them in this video just because, they have time, right? It's winter conditioning. It doesn't really matter right now. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. Now, if we get to spring ball and I continue to hear these guys' names who, maybe aren't, showing up to practice on time and they aren't doing their job, maybe I might highlight that in the video. But, it's low stakes right now, winter conditioning. So that is the Nuggets episode. Winter conditioning is going to go on for about a month more until spring ball begins on March 26th. Man, I'm excited. I'm excited for spring ball. Winter conditioning is cool, but I want to get some real football going on so we get some real Nuggets to talk about, some practice clips, some updates, some pick sixes that we can talk about, some close practices. I'm excited, man. So you guys know what to do. Hit that subscribe button for the latest. We post practice Nuggets and spring ball, fall ball. So make sure to subscribe for more videos just like this. Really helps me out. Hey, hit that like button and comment if you made this far in the video. And as always, folks, go grab, go my Rhule, and see you in the next one.